we talked about her last in 2019.
Yep.
Songs for You, an album I
Yeah.
think we both enjoyed and were impressed with, and felt like she was an artist really starting to find herself. And 333, I think, was a interesting moment because she's done with RCA. This is an album she's
Mm.
really taking full control of.
Yeah. Well, so is
And
Songs for You. This is their second independent
oh, okay.
album. Yeah.
Um, and I think then to kind of change it up because I actually thought Songs for You was on RCA. I think my enjoyment of this can go up a little bit because it feels like she just is continuing to like explore herself on this.
Mm.
And you mentioned the easiness that Nas brings. I thought the easiness that Tinashe brought to 333 and just like jumping between sounds, switching things up, and making it all feel like really effortless and just like a piece of her was really impressive. And I thought this was a really enjoyable listen. Um, what was your takeaway from 333?
Yeah. Sonically, it was not quite what I expected. I really like Songs for You. I thought there were some really fun, bouncy tracks on there, like Link Up and Hopscotch. And in general, it just seemed like Tinashe was, doing what she wanted to do, as opposed to trying to be melded into like a traditional like R&B pop star or something like that. And now on 333, it's a bit of a switch, right? There's less like capital B bangers like there were on Songs for You, songs that she's really good at making. But it's more of like this like silky R&B. But I think the key difference is that there's just some new production from her in terms of songs she's writing. Like Unconditional, was it Unconditional? Is a K Tronada beat of all people. Like you wouldn't
Mm,
have expected that, you know? And then
no,
what is it? Undo parentheses Back to My Heart. Very like
yeah,
synthy production, just also new. And she's a good singer. And I think what's interesting about this is she's not, it doesn't sound like you said, effortless, right? She's not like trying too hard. It's like intentionally still light on the performance side. But because the production seems to be quite tactful in its newness per her output, still leaves a very interesting impression. So yeah, not what I expected at all, but still pretty good.
yeah, and I think that's what makes her almost a really exciting artist at this point. Is it feels like she's just kind of trying things and finding what inspires her or what she wants to be doing, and it's all working. I think that's the piece. Like, right? So how many times have we reviewed an album where we're like, yeah, we hear them trying some things and they're gonna figure it out. Well, it feels like she just tries things and they just sound really good.
Yeah.
So it's really impressive. Undo was one that really stood out to me. It has that like dance poppy, like stroby feel
Yeah.
to it almost, which I thought was great. And then that's followed up by Let Me Down Slowly. I think either the next track or a few, no, it's the next
Mhm.
track. And I thought those two back to back were just really delightful. What other songs stood out to you?
I really like one of the singles, Pasadena, which features
Mhm.
Buddy, who's a rapper I like, and both Tinashe and Buddy. They just really rode that beat well. I thought that one just sounded really good. Um, and then the title track, 333, uh, kind of a more sparse beat, but Tinashe's performance still manages to stand out, even though again it's not like a super showy like bout of singing or anything. And then the feature on that absolutely definitely gave me some like Doja Cat vibes. I was not expecting to hear that. Um, and I actually thought if you had Doja Cat on that song, it would have been a perfect fit.
I'm sure we'll probably get the remix at some point. Um, it's funny. I was thinking about like how I would almost describe this album to someone, and it feels a bit like Doja Cat meets like Japanese breakfast, like mashed
Mm,
together almost in a
yeah,
sense. Like it's hard to like pin down the sound completely, but just like this like pop bubblegum like lightness that just really is a pleasure for your ears. I wanted to shout out Small Reminders as a song. The bass guitar in the second half of that song, it like has like a switch up moment and the bass just goes off on that, man. It almost kind of reminded me a little bit of at the end of I Love Myself by Kendrick when
mhm.
in the live version that bass just goes like super hard. Just really enjoyed that. And yeah, I think you mentioned a lot of them. Just this was a album that I think subverts my expectations for her because it feels like she's just going to continue to rise and experiment, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, I gotta say, like, it's we talked about a lot of female R&B artists because there's a lot of notable ones right now doing lots of good stuff. But I feel like it's really rare that I'm like super like surprised with what I hear. There's a lot of like convention right now what you get from R&B and like alternative R&B. And this is, as you said, kind of hard to classify, which is really cool and definitely a far cry from what people were expecting from Tinashe when she was kind of in the doldrums of her run with RCA. You know, like her early mixtapes before like Tuan became that big hit for her. Her early mixtapes maybe suggested this, but we hadn't seen it manifest in so long. And I thought Songs for You was really good, but like you could hear the convention there too. Not that that's a bad thing, but the subversion still really like grabbed me. It's like just not what I expected. And I've been a fan of Tinashe's songs for a long time. Even the RCA stuff had things to like. So you can tell that she's not super interested in pursuing like mainstream commercial
Mhm.
appeal with this album, and that's cool because that's her choice. So do what you want to do. It's
Absolutely.
it's definitely working.
Tinashe.